Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because what just leaked out of Washington, D.C. is beyond belief. We now have proof that Chuck Schumer's so-called shutdown strategy was no accident. It wasn't a stalemate. It was a plan. In fact, it was a plan to crush paychecks, to freeze veterans' benefits, and to squeeze the American middle class just to score political points against President Trump. I can't make this stuff up, guys. Here's the sick part. As if that wasn't sick enough, right? The real sick part is here. While families are missing mortgage payments, while troops are wondering when the next check hits, Schumer is on camera laughing, saying every day gets better. Better for who, Chuck? Better for the bureaucrats that are cashing taxpayer salaries while real Americans are bleeding out here? Ask the TSA folks who are still showing up for work every day, not getting a paycheck. Well, tonight we're going to go ahead and pull the curtain all the way back. I'm talking about the leaked memos, the activist coordination, the No Kings rally that Speaker Mike Johnson just called a Hate America March. All of it is tying back to one thing: a very desperate, power-hungry movement willing to burn the country down just to hurt Donald Trump, guys. So if you think that this shutdown was about budgets or negotiations, think again. This is about control. And by the end of this report today that I have put together for you, you're going to see exactly why Chuck Schumer's smug grin may go down as the moment that America finally said enough. Hit the like button, subscribe, guys. All right, so earlier today, internal Senate memos were leaked, confirming what we've suspected all along. Chuck Schumer's government shutdown was no standoff. It wasn't a standoff. It was a strategy. The documents passed to Hill reporters by an aide who's now gone silent. They outlined a plan to maximize political pain for President Trump's administration by dragging the shutdown beyond the 2-week mark. The memo's language is chilling. Delay payments, pressure veterans, hardlight hardship. Guys, they want to highlight the hardship, not help the people, not find a compromise, pressure the veterans. Can you imagine, guys? They are actually targeting the men and women who actually fought for this country. It's abysmal what these people are willing to do. Millions of Americans are trapped in limbo, paychecks frozen, benefits stalled, agencies shuttered, and Chuck Schumer reportedly called it a test of endurance. A test for who exactly? The families who are missing rent? The service members who are overseas waiting for their paychecks? It was never about policy. It was always about politics. This was a very calculated move in order to cripple Trump's agenda, to destabilize confidence, and to let the Democrats march into their No Kings protest weekend, pretending to be the victims of their own game. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this was deliberate sabotage. It was not negotiation failure. Hit the like button, subscribe. All right. So then, when you thought Washington couldn't get any more out of touch, guess what happened? Chuck Schumer, he stepped up to the microphone this morning and he smirked. Every day it gets better. Better? Better for who? Guys, some people can't even get their driver's licenses renewed so that they can take a trip. Some people can't even get their passports because half the government shut down. Now, I want you to tell that, Chuck Schumer, to the federal worker who's watching their savings accounts evaporate right now. Tell that to the veterans whose disability checks are trapped in this bureaucratic purgatory. Within minutes, that clip went viral, guys. I'm talking millions of views. Veterans organizations blasted it as completely tone deaf. Small business coalitions called it disgusting. And the internet erupted and almost broke down with the hashtag better for who. Again, once again, the elites are laughing while America suffers. Isn't that something that we've seen over and over and over on repeat, right? They say, oh, we're in this together. Man, they're not in this together. Don't let them lie to you, okay? They're in their private jets. They're not in this with you. Yet, every taxpayer dollar, it still hits their paychecks on time. You don't see them taking any hits, do you, right? This isn't leadership, guys. This is a mockery in the average American's face. And it's exactly why Americans are furious today. Now, neighbors talk, and lately, they're all saying the same thing. I called Chapter about my Medicare plan, and it saved me money. Now, Medicare premiums are set to rise next year, and many Medicare Advantage plans are already disappearing altogether. And if they're not, they're going to be disappearing very soon. Now, that is why I partner with Chapter, because when people start comparing stories, Medicare becomes the one topic that nobody wants to ignore. They're the only advisors who review every plan nationwide and recommend what actually fits your needs. Now, on average, they have saved seniors $1,100 a year. That's huge. Now, the call is quick. Chapter can review your options in under 20 minutes. The best part though, it's totally free for the Ron Yates community. And if you're already on the right plan, they're going to tell you that. Now, if you're not on the right plan, they could actually help you to save thousands of dollars. So let me ask, when your neighbors are already knowing the secret, do you really want to be the only one on the block who doesn't? Yeah, I know. Most people, they're already dialing that phone number on the bottom of your screen right there. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or you can visit them at askchapter.org/Ron. Now, I want to talk about the rally at the center of all of this. This is the so-called No Kings rally. Drop a yes if you've heard about this, okay? This Saturday, the same activists who've been blocking highways, waving Antifa flags, and screaming at police left and right, they're planning to flood Washington. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson, he didn't hold back this morning. He called it what it truly is, a hate America rally disguised as activism. And he's right. I mean, internal sources are saying Chuck Schumer's office has been coordinating with the very groups behind this march, progressive super PACs and radical organizers who want to paint Trump as a dictator while ignoring the chaos that they themselves are funding. Now, according to leaked Capitol emails, Chuck Schumer's staff even delayed reopening votes so Democrats could own the optics over the weekend. In other words, they want to keep the government closed. They want to keep Americans hurting just to be able to have a bigger crowd for the cameras on Saturday. This is not democracy, guys. This is a performance, and I'm so glad that you guys are smart enough to see right through their charade. And it also proves that Chuck Schumer isn't taking orders from the American people anymore. He's actually taking them from the mob. And so here's where it gets even darker, okay? So multiple Hill insiders are now confirming that Chuck Schumer's shutdown playbook has less to do with President Trump and everything to do with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Remember that crazy lady named AOC? Yeah, that one. That's right, guys. Chuck Schumer's terrified of being primaried in 2026 by his own party's radical wing. His poll numbers have cratered, and AOC's online army is openly taunting him, calling him soft on Trump. So what does Chuck Schumer do in response? Well, he caves, of course. He lets the far left dictate Senate strategy. Chuck Schumer is not negotiating with Republicans. No, he's negotiating with the Twitter activists. Now, one longtime Democrat staffer told the New York Post this morning, Schumer has lost control. He is the weakest majority leader in modern history. And judging by the shutdown stunt, well, they're absolutely right. So here's the part of the story that should outrage every single viewer right now, because it's the silence. This is the silence that really kind of screams loudest. So while families are going to go without paychecks, I mean, I don't even want to say that they're going to go without paychecks. Their families are already going without paychecks right now, while veterans are facing delays, while small businesses are collapsing under uncertainty. The corporate media has gone completely dark. CNN calls it a Trump pressure campaign. MSNBC says the president's unwilling to compromise. And NPR politely calls it a pause in services. A pause? Tell that to the federal contractor in Virginia who just laid off 20 workers. I want you to tell that to the Marine family at Camp Lejeune waiting on their housing stipend. The truth is, this shutdown is not being covered. It's being protected, guys. Every network that should be holding Chuck Schumer accountable, they're instead running interference, shielding the Democratic Party instead of serving their country. This is the same crisis. This is the exact same crisis that had been engineered by a Republican. Hold on a second. Let me just, I really want to paint the picture for you guys. Let's just pretend that this exact same crisis was engineered by a Republican. Think about what would have happened. The coverage would have been wall-to-wall panic, democracy on the brink, government in chaos, the end of America as we know it. You know what I'm saying here, guys? But instead, because of Chuck Schumer, crickets, dead silence. That, my friends, is not journalism. That is propaganda. And Americans are finally starting to see through their charade. And so now, contrast that with silence with leadership. While Schumer hides behind activists and sound bites, President Donald J. Trump, he has been acting. In fact, just this week, the president signed emergency directives authorizing Treasury to prioritize pay for troops, for Border Patrol, and for any other federal, essential federal workers, making sure that America's backbone doesn't snap under Schumer's political games. In his televised address last night, President Trump said it loud and clear, "We will not let Washington fail you." And folks, that's the difference, okay? Schumer's goal is to make America hurt so that he can score some points. Trump's goal is to make America work even when the swamp is sabotaging him left and right at every single turn. That's the difference. That's what real leadership looks like. And this is what the media refuses to show you. Now, let's go ahead and get into the most damning leak of all. Multiple Senate staffers have now come forward confirming that Schumer's office has been operating what has been known as a shutdown war room. Anybody heard of this drop a shutdown down below if you've never heard of the shutdown war room. Now, this wasn't a rumor. It's now documented. Internal emails now show taxpayer-funded staffers coordinating with progressive organizers. They're timing the talking points, and they're even scripting social media posts for the No Kings protest leaders. Now, one memo even referenced keeping the shutdown aligned with key rally dates in order to maintain pressure optics. Let that sink in, okay? Let that sink in, guys. They're using your money, your taxpayer funds, in order to stage this fake political circus. Meanwhile, the same Americans that are paying for it and funding it can't even access their own paychecks. This is not leadership. This is manipulation. This is the permanent political class treating your government like some kind of a campaign studio. So when Chuck Schumer is standing in front of the cameras pretending to fight for the people, I want you to remember, behind the scenes, he's coordinating with activists whose stated goal, their only goal, is to shut down the system. That's who he's coordinating with. So I want you to ask yourself, who are these people serving? Americans? Or are they serving the mob that props them up? This is what everyone should be asking themselves right now. And so while Schumer's playing these political policy and political policy games, the damage is spreading like wildfire. Look, you got defense contractors in Texas. They're already halting projects. They're stopping them. Federal suppliers across the Midwest, they're cutting hours. People are already losing money over this thing, okay? Tourism near the national parks from Montana to Virginia, they're collapsing as families cancel the trips. The numbers are staggering. The numbers are absolutely staggering. And you've got local economists, they're estimating billions of dollars lost every single week. Entire communities built around federal facilities, they're also watching their paychecks disappear. So what do you think is going to happen after that? Oh, and through it all, Chuck Schumer says every day gets better. Better for who, Chuck? Because for small business owners, every day gets a lot harder, not better. This shutdown isn't just hurting government workers, it's hitting the truckers who haul their supplies, the diners that serve them lunch, the landlords that are counting on their rent. This is what maximized political pain actually looks like in real life. An entire economy bleeding for Chuck Schumer's ego. And he's smiling right through it. And so then, just when America thought it had seen the worst, Chuck Schumer went on live television last night and proved that arrogance has no bottom. During a Senate hallway interview, a reporter asked him a very simple question. Senator, will you reopen the government by Friday? Schumer stopped, looked straight into the camera, laughed. Of course he laughed, right? Because he doesn't care. It's not affecting him. He shrugged, and then he said, we'll see. That smirk spread across social media like wildfire. Within minutes, the hashtag Schumer laughs while we starve hit the top of X. That moment right there became the breaking point for millions of Americans who are watching from home. Not just conservatives, independents, moderates, even Democrats who've had enough of politicians who just laugh while families are out here suffering. He wasn't even nervous about it. He wasn't pressed. There's no pressure on Schumer. He was entertained. He's home laughing in his cushy little place because he doesn't care about anybody else but himself. And that is the problem, guys. Washington doesn't feel our pain anymore. They find it amusing. So that one clip right there, that pretty much says it all. Schumer isn't fighting for the people. He's mocking them from the marble halls of power while their bills pile up at the kitchen table. Now, it's a look of power without empathy. You know what I'm saying? And this is what this shutdown has ultimately exposed. But thank God somebody is finally fighting back. You got Speaker Mike Johnson right alongside Senator J.D. Vance introduced emergency legislation just this morning to automatically reopen essential services and guarantee back pay for every worker affected by Chuck Schumer's stunt. Now, the optics couldn't be clearer. Republicans standing shoulder to shoulder with veterans, Border Patrol, and even blue-collar workers, while Schumer's caucus staged another photo op for activists. Johnson, he didn't mince words either. He said, if Democrats won't fund America, we will. Now that line right there, that line sent shockwaves through Washington because it was no longer about red versus blue. It's about leaders who work versus elites who gloat. And the MAGA majority is showing the country right now that compassion and strength still exist in government. Meanwhile, Schumer's camp is proving that for them, suffering is just part of a political strategy. The swamp laughs, but America remembers. But when you kind of step back and you just kind of like really like, you kind of like look at what's happening here, it's kind of like, it's not just a government shutdown. It's really a crisis of character, because this isn't about money or policy. It's really about the soul of leadership. So Chuck Schumer and his allies, they claim that they're standing up for democracy, but yet they're the ones that's holding it hostage. They're waving signs that say no kings, but they're out here behaving like monarchs and, unaccountable, untouchable, insulated from the consequences of their own arrogance. Every decision in this shutdown, guys, it has only revealed one thing. Washington's ruling class believes hardship is a political tool. They're willing to let ordinary Americans suffer through it if it helps them to score a headline or a clip for social media. But the arrogance is backfiring. Across the country, Americans are waking up. They're realizing that this shutdown isn't some ideological standoff. It's a power play by people who lost the argument, and now they just want to punish the voters for rejecting them. And you know what, guys? That awakening may just be the legacy of this moment, because no nation can heal until it actually sees the disease for what it is. And right now, let me tell you, that disease is political elitism dressed up as compassion. But here's the good news. I actually have some good news, guys. We've been through worse, and we've been beaten worse, because today, under President Donald J. Trump, the American spirit is alive and defiant. While Chuck Schumer's crowd shouts no kings, Trump is out here proving what real leadership looks like, restoring pay for essential workers, cutting through the red tape, and reminding the world that Washington works for us, not the other way around. Now, this shutdown may have exposed the swamp, but it also reignited America's backbone. The patriots, the builders, the everyday heroes who won't quit when Washington, D.C. breaks down. They're the heartbeat of this nation, and you guys know that. And to Chuck Schumer, to AOC, and every politician that's laughing while Americans are out here suffering, here's the message. We see you. We won't forget, and we won't bow down to your political blackmail ever again. America rises, the swamp falls. That's the truth the media won't say out loud, but I did. Like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned. We'll see you guys next time.